It's like a storm that cuts a path. It breaks your will. It feels like that. You think you're lost, but you're not lost.
In the beginning, dealing with the social worker was not easy for me. I didn't understand what I was going through. I once before had a very negative opinion on social work. I had a negative outlook on the child welfare system.
Inevitably, interacting with our systems can be very traumatizing to families, to children, to parents. It's not easy, and I think that we own that.
I've worked in the field of child welfare for 20 years. Our agency here in Charlottesville has practiced social work differently. We have put some things in place to engage families so that they do feel supported.
Something that's really struck me about Charlottesville is they want to know what clients think. They want to know how we have failed them, because that's the only way to create change in a system that is historically flawed.
Charlottesville had an overhaul of their system quite a few years ago, which a lot of other DSSs haven't had. And they said, what are we doing wrong? Yeah, it's gonna be a big learning curve, and yeah, it might take us a while, but we're gonna get this right.
Since my time being in the social work field, a lot has changed. In particular, I think there's an emphasis on, in foster care, children being placed with family members. So that's a real big emphasis from the state of Virginia that has trickled down through the Social Services Department.
So my educational background has helped prepare me for this job in terms of like the classes that I took that were very focused on community, like resources, community-based outreach, and as far as interpersonal relationships.
The social work education has taught me to continue to see the humanity of the folks we work with, rather than, you know, they did this or they did that. No, they're human beings doing the best they can.
Sometimes families need more resources to be able to thrive in life.
And if we have to step in financially, if we have to step in with clinicians, with, counseling pieces, transportation, in my department, the role here is to keep the families together.
I think it prepared me in some ways, but social work is a field where you can't necessarily put the job into words until you live it. But one of the big values in a social work degree is they do require internships that you have to complete before you're able to complete your degree.
The job definitely gets tough if you see some of the things that we see in the field in reference to what happens to these families, to these children. It's a circle of trauma with these families where it's happened to their parents, their grandparents, and it continues to happen, and you're trying to break this cycle, this recidivism of abuse and neglect, and you feel a certain case, if you didn't get to that point, it can ruin you because you look back and say, well, what could I have done differently?
We are coming in to work with families on some of their worst days, so, all of that can be stressful situations. It is not easy work. It can be emotionally taxing, but I think it can be equally rewarding.
You're gonna run across all situations and things that you can't even believe. You're like, what happened? What did you see? You hear stories from another social worker talking, and you're like, that happened to you today? But everyone's very supportive.
The support that we receive comes in many different levels. Of course, you have your coworkers, you have your superiors or your supervisors, you have support groups.
Staff support has really evolved with committing to the trauma-informed perspective. We value our relationships with one another to support one another. When you're dealing and walking with families through some of the most difficult times they've ever had, you need to have a support system.
We don't make decisions in a vacuum. There are multiple people at multiple stages that are involved in decision making, so that's another thing, is you don't always have to have the right answers.
So the support that we get at this agency, I think, goes above and beyond what is the norm. I think it's very baseline for agencies to preach self-care. Like, make sure you're taking care of yourself, but also I'm gonna reach out to you on the weekends or at 6 a.m. Charlottesville does a really good job prioritizing you as a human before you as a worker.
You don't go into this field always expecting to be liked, but to meet people where they are. So every case is a learning opportunity.
Our goal is to sustain and support families, and children do better in their families.
I believe in the work we do. I believe that people and families can change.
I would advise them to remember their why, because your why is what's going to drive you. Your why did you choose this field? Why are you doing what you're doing?
My passion for social work comes from knowing, walking, and living in the shoes of the people that I help to serve.
I definitely feel the city of Charlottesville is more supportive when it comes to its employees here with the city. Definitely the accommodations that they have provided to us as far as office needs, trauma-informed training, things that prepare you to be well-equipped to talk to the families. I feel they provide that a layer more in depth than that of my previous jobs.
You know, I've had opportunities to go to other social services agencies, and they're great. You know, no disrespect. However, there's not another agency that I would rather be at.
One of the ways that we're different in this agency is we really value keeping children with families.
Charlottesville Department of Social Services is helping families in our community to transform. And we're helping our families to no longer just survive, but actually thrive.
But the way in which we do it, I think, matters. Like, we do it different and we do it better.